In this video, we are going to talk about why I own Meta stock as a long-term investment. So far, this has been a winning stock for me, and I currently own 8 Meta shares at an average price of $253. It's one of the biggest positions in a single stock that I own, and I have earned around 95% on my initial investment. If somehow you didn't know, Meta is run by Mark Zuckerberg and has built some of the biggest social media platforms in the world, including Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and WhatsApp. They also own Reality Labs, which creates Oculus and is Meta's virtual reality platform. We're going to cover some of the risks involved with investing in Meta stock, then we'll talk about why I hold it, and at the end of the video, I'll cover what my plan with my current position is. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sheldon, and I have been actively investing and managing my own portfolio for a little over 4.5 years now, and I make YouTube videos talking about stocks. So if you're looking to learn about the market and build your own portfolio, check out some of the other videos on my channel, and let's build our portfolios together. So let's get right into it, and let's start with the risks that you should be aware of if you're thinking about buying Meta stock or if you're currently a shareholder. The first thing I want to touch on is that Meta can be a controversial company, and because of that, their stock price can be very volatile. If we take a look at their 5-year chart, in 2021, they hit around $400, maybe not quite 400, but they got pretty close, and then they crashed right down to, I think they went into the 80s in the back end of 2022, and pretty much ever since then, it's been a pretty good straight shot up. And in the last 5 days, I mean, the stock price has gone from $537 all the way back down to under $500. So just know that there can be some pretty big moves in Meta that are up and down, and you should just know that it's a volatile stock. Everybody has their own view on Mark Zuckerberg and social media. And I mean, off the bat, if you hate Mark Zuckerberg and if you have a very negative view of social media, I'll be honest, this is probably not the stock for you. I personally do think that Mark Zuckerberg is the right person to drive this company forward, and I have a pretty optimistic view on social media in general. And I'll get more into that later in the video. Another thing to touch on here is that social media is still relatively unregulated by the government, and there has been multiple attempts to get Meta broken apart, and whether you agree with it or not, which I personally don't, it's a risk that you should keep in mind, and who knows what would actually happen to the stock price if the company did ever get broken apart. And if we look at how close TikTok is to being banned, you know, they offer essentially the exact same product as Meta, and yes, it is more because TikTok is owned by a Chinese parent company, ByteDance, and it's a little bit of a security thing, but it's still possible to see really heavy pressure from the government on these big social media giant companies, and it's just something to be aware of. The next thing that we can look at is either a good or a bad thing, but I can understand an argument that it's a risk. But Meta has an extremely high reliance on its revenue from advertising. Just in the first quarter of 2024, they made around $35 billion from advertising, and then only $380 million off other revenue and $440 million from Reality Labs. So I don't know what percentage that is, but I mean, that is a massive percentage of their revenue that is literally only coming from advertising. And with such a heavy reliance on just digital advertising revenue, any big changes to the online advertising world can drastically affect Meta's revenues. And we saw this with the iOS 14 update from Apple that kind of limited traceability on their phones for advertisers. You know, seemingly small changes like this can cause massive ripple effects in the online digital marketing space, and having such a large portion of your revenue reliant on something that can change really quickly definitely can be seen as a bad thing. And like always with any investment, I try to figure out what the risks involved are and what any of the bears might be saying. And pretty much, I just try to figure out any reason that there might be selling pressure on the stock. I think it's really good practice, and I think it's something that you should do with your investments as well. But let's talk about why I currently am invested in Meta. So one of the biggest reasons here is the financials are just so damn good. They have high margins, lots of cash, low debt. They have a $17 EPS and recently started paying a dividend because they have so much free cash flow they don't even know what to do with it. But this is a chart of digital advertising spend worldwide, and in 2023 we hit 680 billion, and this year we're projected to hit 740 billion and really just up from there. I do think that the online digital advertising world is only going to continue to grow, and it's just a market that Meta has really big market share in, and I can't see it going down anytime soon. Something that's maybe a little bit off-putting but also kind of interesting to look at is how much Meta makes off of their users by just using their apps. But on average, every quarter they make around 10, 11, 12-ish dollars, literally just because you like to scroll your feed. They're also investing heavily in AR, VR, and AI, and will be leaders in that space. Not many other people can afford to dump $35 to $40 billion a year into research and development for virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence. And, even if the metaverse thing doesn't ever take off, the AR, VR, and AI markets are all still huge markets. And on the flip side, if the metaverse thing does actually take off and does work, they're going to be positioned perfectly to be a leader in that market. Obviously, they haven't seen much ROI on these big investments yet, but in their latest earnings release, they recorded around a $3.85 billion loss. But I do think in the future, all these investments into this technology is definitely going to be worth it. This is something that I just find kind of cool, so I thought I'd throw it in the video, but they actually have a website that shows off all their data centers. A lot of them are well into the $100 million or billion-dollar investment range, and with infrastructure like that, I just don't see Meta going anywhere anytime soon, and they could probably get into the cloud business pretty quick if they wanted to. There's honestly a lot more good things that I could say, but to keep the video relatively short, the few key points that I'm trying to make are they essentially print money with their online advertising business, and they have huge market share in the digital marketing world. They're also investing heavily into AR, VR, and AI and positioning themselves to be leaders in all of those markets. And they just have lots of cool data centers. I actually have a pretty optimistic view of social media in general. And yes, I do think that it could be bad, like anything, when you abuse it and use it incorrectly. But there's such a big opportunity with social media and the way that you can leverage Meta's platforms. It can literally change your life. It can help you start a business. And it can be really powerful and really good when you use it properly. So with all that being said, what is my plan with my current position in the stock? It's currently sitting at an almost 12% allocation in this account, but Meta is just a hold for me right now. I'm not selling, I'm not buying. I don't want it to be a much bigger position in the account because it's already one of the biggest positions that I own. I didn't even really plan for it to be one of my biggest holdings, but one thing that I've learned is as you invest and as you have stocks that perform well, they kind of just climb to the top of your portfolio and take up a bigger percentage when you didn't even necessarily plan for that to happen, which is definitely not a bad problem at all, but it's just something that I've witnessed happen in my accounts in the last couple years. So for now, I'm just sitting on the position that I currently have, but I would recommend it as a 5 to 10 year long-term investment. If you're comfortable with the risks involved, the volatility, and you believe in the company, then I think it could be a good add to your portfolio. But let me know what you guys think about Meta stock, whether you like it, don't like it, or if I missed anything that you think should have been in the video. Check out some of the other videos on my channel and consider subscribing and dropping a like. And let me know if you have any video suggestions on specific stocks that you want to see or feedback in general. I wish everybody the best of luck on their investment journey. Peace.